Chapter 13. Initial Substance. Let me explain further. Mean continued. The initial or primary energy is the motion of the smallest particle, which I call the initial substance. This initial substance is the smallest in size. This means that nothing is smaller. Although we can cut it into smaller pieces, but when we further separate it to the next order, its property changes or even disappears and becomes a scrap of dust that no longer functions. None of this initial substance is motionless. Within its main structure, there are a number of positive and negative electrodes agglomerated at the center, in which a number of small molecules move around ceaselessly. I'd like to emphasize the term, ceaselessly, which means they really never stop. Please don't ask me how they move and where this energy comes from. All your questions can be best answered by the person you will meet soon. I will only explain the latter process. Mean explained and looked at me to ensure I was still following and went on. Of all those initial substances, each and every one of them has different properties depending on the amount of positive and negative molecules that are agglomerated and moving continuously at the center. Simply put, all objects, stones, trees, animals, human beings, all liquid or solid objects, either living or dead, all are composed of this initial substance. If we take one stone or a human who has the most complicated structure and examine them closely under a microscope with a very high magnification, we will find that the most inner part of both the stone and the human bears the same initial substance, loosely tied together by the force of movement within it and by the space in between. Mean explained, even though it has the same structure at its center with the small molecules moving around it, this initial substance, however, has diverse forms and properties depending on the number of positive and negative molecules that compose it. We can limitlessly synthesize each of them into new features. In conclusion, all of the objects in the universe have energy in themselves. It's the intensity of the vibrational frequency that they emit out, while they vibrate within, that differentiates them from another. The concentration of this spectrum determines the properties of the object, making it a solid, liquid or gaseous state. Do you follow me? Mean asked. I think so. Is this initial substance an atom? I replied, realizing that I only partially understood. I cannot say yes or no, he replied. The name that we have given it is just a symbol. If you think that its properties are the same, then it may be so. If it's not the same, or if it's only similar, then that comparison would deviate from the truth. Such comparison directs your attention more on what is right or wrong than on the subject I'm trying to explain to you. Furthermore, if you are citing information from other sources, I would consider this as being disrespectful to the listener as well as to the speaker. Mean seems to be telling me way more than I had asked him to. Why is that so? I wondered. Because when you refer to other sources of information, you are trying to convince people to believe it through the beliefs of others, rather than letting them comprehend the context with their own ability. Therefore, people who are highly evolved would regard this as being impolite. And as for the sender of the message, to refer to what others have previously said indicates that you don't have the ability to make others believe what you say, which means you are insulting yourself. Mean said with a serious look. Oh wow, in my world, people who speak without credible references or sources are not considered clever. This is really the other way around. I replied, you should not judge anyone, not even yourself, as stupid or clever. The word stupid is a point at one end, while the word clever is at the other end. Now, no one on your planet is at the far end of either sides. Everyone is in between. The only difference is the interval between one another, meaning who is closer to the point of stupidity or cleverness. Mean replied, "You're right, I'm sorry." I said meekly, "My apology." 2. Mean said, "For going off topic. Now, let's get back to our story. Where did I left off?" Mean paused for a while. We agreed that all objects in the universe have energy in themselves, and it's the intensity of the vibrational frequencies binding each other that results in different properties. Didn't we? Mean asked, recapping his explanation. Maybe, but I still don't understand much. I confessed. Let's see it this way. Imagine an image of this initial substance as a small ball. Like I said, both positive and negative molecules spiral inside of each ball. While those molecules are moving, they also emit the vibrational frequency. The amount of this emitted frequency depends on the number of molecules within. When it is emitted, I'd like to represent this phenomenon in colors, for example red, green, blue, and so on. Can you imagine that? He asked me. I think so, I replied. Now, it gets more complicated. If we have those small colorful balls together in the right amount, such as 4 blue, 7 green, 1 purple, and 30 light blue balls, they will vibrate and emit new frequency. When we step back, we will see that this group of balls has changed and become bigger. They also emit new and more complex frequencies. We can repeat this process 3, 4, 5 times and even more, until we get the form and properties of such frequencies as desired. Mean continued to explain. And this is easy to understand? I said, teasing him. The formation process of everything in the universe, whether it is the lowest being, which we call object, or the highest evolved being, which we call creatures, emerges from this process, he said seriously. What I've explained is just a process. The highest complexity is in the magic of the selection process of the exact amount of the initial substance. Or we can say, the selection of each colored ball in every step creates a unique frequency which will finally produce a specific property. I was about to ask something but couldn't put it into a sentence.